morning glory. Say there, stop that yawning. A brand new day is dawning. Pull up the shade and let the sun come through. Good morning glory. Spend about an hour underneath the shower and keep on singing like the birdies do.
Books of the Week is the show that is now on the air, says Captain Obvious. Welcome, everybody. So nice to see all of you. So nice to see Steve Donahue, a book critic in Boston, Massachusetts.
Hello, everybody.
I often wonder if he exists or if Boston exists, but here's your proof, I guess. How have you been, sir?
I've been fine.
Good.
I'm a bit confused to see you in the control booth.
It's nice to be back.
The impression after last week's debacle that I fired you.
I tried to send you Laura Loomer this morning as a as my replacement, and you know what she said? She said, "Did you know Jeff is Jewish?" It gave her the ick.
Well, it gives me the ick too, but you know where all the controls are. So
I push all the buttons here. That's what I do. Well, without Steve, we would have quite a show that wouldn't work. And this graphic from the Star Trek: The Motion Picture comic book. Steve, please, I need you badly. One of the most erotic moments in a Star Trek movie, I would say, but that's fine. What are we doing here? Well, let me help you in with that.
Question to open with at all.
What we do, trust me, is we talk about books. I swear to God, we do. And not only that, we traditionally will talk about new arrivals, new releases for people here at the Cedarburg Public Library and any library across this fine nation of ours. Occasionally, we like to throw a curveball and do a special episode. I'm not sure how that works.
Occasionally, we like to throw a curveball, he says, with a straight face.
There's your curveball, everybody. We're going to do something a little different this week. Mix it up. Recently, our friends at the New York Times Book Review put out a list. And boy, lists for bookish people, Steve, that really gets their juices flowing.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you, as a full-time employed, paid book critic, what's your take on this list culture?
Well, they're easily digestible, right? Yeah. One of the factors about books, about the bookish world, that's just out there looming in the air and nobody likes it, is that there are innumerable books that when you step back and think about it, you realize that if there's a carpet over the entire galaxy, you're going to read a tiny little fraction of that carpet. The amount of space, not that an ant can cover, but that an ant takes up.
How dare you suggest this?
And all the rest of it is going to go unread.
Oh my goodness.
Before you get to it. And nobody likes that. Nobody likes that feeling. And lists seem to cut down on that feeling.
That's the psychological thing going on there. Okay.
You can look right at them.
Yeah.
And in addition to being a paid book critic, I'm also a paid book section editor, and I know, oh my God, do they get clicks? They are immensely popular as just conversation starters.
Yeah.
For argument.
I mean, my list starts at number 1 with this, but I don't know. It might be different for other people. So, you know, the one we're using today, though, as I mentioned, is the one. This seems, I don't know. Once this landed on my desk about a week and a half ago, I got the heebie-jeebies immediately.
Yes.
It's the 100 best books of the 21st century, right. Which, by the way, we've just kicked off in theory. I mean,
when you see a title like that for this issue, you should immediately think, what would the list of the best 100 books of the 20th century look like if it had been published in 1924?
Right.
How many books would it leave out?
Yeah.
Is the question here that
The book police here, by the way, Steve, Fahrenheit 451. The firemen are coming to Steve's house to clean him out.
Literally impossible to avoid that sound. Literally. I filmed a video at 3:15 in the morning. It's literally, and it was there. It's literally impossible to avoid.
Oh my. Well, you got to come out to Cedarburg here, Steve. We actually can't afford sirens. We have a dog that barks on the running boards when an emergency vehicle comes by.
This list by the New York Times generated lots and lots of think pieces and controversies and whatnot. The grievance censors were out in full force, saying that they're nowhere on the list is there a cat identifying Samoan, and so on and so forth. But also, lots of other people weighed in.
Yeah,
and wanted to know two things. Number one, why isn't my favorite book on the list? And also, how did you make this list? What is the transparency of how you made this list?
They do. They are fully. There's full disclosure. They have, I believe, it's a book critic. I think Lev Grossman had a big piece of the action in this one. The gentleman who just published the Arthurian. So they do in the cover page. They don't really talk about the mathematics behind it or how that worked. Assuming there was mathematics behind it, but they do mention the people involved at least, or some of the individuals. So there's
some of
them. Yeah,
not all of them.
No,
not how much they had to do, and not what their qualifications are. So that we have to leave it to BookTube, to BookTube's own darling Jack Edwards, mousy, cute little Jack Edwards, to mention that he was at a party specifically in order to stalk an author that he just loves.
Oh.
And the author introduced him to the people at the New York Times, who then sent him a ballot.
Wow, that's a really good way to get into the club, isn't it?
Well, if you can, Jack Edwards has 2 million subscribers on BookTube and not one single brain cell in his pretty little head. So you have to want 2 million is not a small number, but you have to wonder what other people of the unnamed people who went into making this thing met at parties.
Mr. Edwards launched a picture of the spread they had at that party, and it's pretty exciting. I mean,
that is rather exciting.
So there we are.
Also, no one's done a spreadsheet about what kind of paid advertisement the publishers of the people on the list have done or are doing with the New York Times. No one's done that. The New York Times is a fascist-adjacent, dictator-enabling rag. So it's the New York Times where you will read that at a Minnesota town hall event, presidential candidate Donald Trump appeared frustrated and with a question, and then launched into his own program about what he would do in response. And then you watch the video of the event. The New York Times is the only people in the world who don't know that YouTube exists. They don't know that video cameras exist. They don't know that everything is done live. You go to YouTube and watch the event.
Yeah.
And nothing like that happened. Nothing that could even be described that way happened. There was no expounding. There was no frustration. It was a gibbering, drooling senior citizen lunatic. And the crowd was leaving. The crowd was completely confused. It was lunacy. The response was lunacy. And the Times they are lying about it. They do not report it that way.
Who knew that Times reporters were actually frustrated fiction writers? We didn't know. I mean, now we know.
You have to take a list like this with a huge grain of salt. But it is nevertheless, fodder for discussion among
bookish news, and we're here for it. So
I'm wondering though, my producer, when it comes to a list like this, who is the only person that anyone should listen to?
I can tell you.
Look over your shoulder at that sign. Oh my God! What an unfortunate placement of the clock on the wall. Oh,
I regarded it as a crown. I didn't think it was a clock. Now I know.
This is a perfect example of what I tell people all the time. When you're taking a picture, don't have something growing out of someone's head.
You mean like that?
Don't have anything embarrassing behind someone's head is what you should get. The rule you should look at here.
I'm just a paid municipal worker, so I'm a scrivener. Anyway, let's tear into this list, and I do mean tear. Number one, because I'm not Casey Kasem. We're not starting at number 40. We're starting at number one, and it's something called "My Brilliant Friend" by Elena Ferrante.
Yes.
We have this book. It's a trilogy, appears to be a trilogy. I really was unfamiliar with it. I leafed through it. I read a few passages and I said, really? Number one.
Me too. I have not understood the two of the main literary phenomenons of the 21st century just leave me not understanding what's going on here at all. Elena Ferrante and Karl Ove Knausgaard. I'd look at both of them, and they're both multimillionaires because of the 21st century. And I think, what is going on here?
I wonder. I mean, I can't really turn over enough rocks to figure it out. But what she's doing and what he's doing, because he'll write 8 pages about the pack of cigarettes he just bought and the little foil thing that goes around it, and how the foil thing makes him think of a friend who actually had no meaning in his life whatsoever. And next thing you know, it's dinner time. I mean, I don't know. Time just passes. You mentioned Japanese zombie fiction a few weeks ago, and I feel like this is kind of akin to that in some ways.
I don't understand when you read Elena Ferrante, how you can see it as anything other than just flat, affectless, easy prose. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe that's the appeal.
But there's easy prose out there. If you read, a Baldacci, you read dare I say, a Patterson. Read there's a lot of easy prose out there. Why them?
Because there's no bragging rights. There's no bragging rights there. You're not on a literary bandwagon there. You're just enjoying yourself.
Well, we can't have that. No. I don't think so. Interesting. Well, yeah. So that's number one, My Brilliant Friend. Again, it's a trilogy, I guess, or more. And she's very mysterious and cagey. Apparently, she's kind of the shadow, of the literary shadow. There's a lot of
huge part of the mystique here is that she hasn't done 10 Oprah interviews.
Well, that's what's weird, different about us. We are anything but shadows. We are in your face all the time. We're ready to play any game you want. We have recipes for you. So let's come on along for the ride. Number 2 on our little list is Isabel Wilkerson and The Warmth of Other Suns. I don't know much about this book. Can you?
Very talented author.
Okay.
I dread the day. I mean, The Warmth of Other Suns is really good. The book she wrote after that is even better. Her books have just the slightest tinge of woke scoldery that will ruin a righteous cause, but so far that hasn't taken them over, and they are quite good. I was a little amazed to find this so high on the list.
That is interesting. That a list like this, which the list exists for a reason, outside of the fact that hopefully we'll sell some papers. But you have to think that there's a reason for these placements, and I'm not sure exactly what that reason would be, but there you are. I know you're a fan of number 3 here, Wolf Hall, Hilary Mantel.
Yes.
And
I'm not a fan of putting a book down like that. You shouldn't lay a book down like that. they're bookmarks,
Oh my Lord, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
I don't,
As a librarian, you can't like that any more than I do. No.
We have to go to tech services and get the special book tape and oh my gosh, every time.
Wolf Hall is great. I do not share your mystification with what a lot of these books are doing on the list. I know exactly what they're doing on the list because they are explicitly kowtowing to something called the progressive stack. There was no chance, literally no chance, literally zero chance, literally firing offense chance that a man was going to be number 1 on this list. No chance at all. Zero. None. No chance at all. And that means it's not an honest list.
Yeah.
At heart, that means it's not an honest list. That means you are looking at factors other than the quality of the book.
Sure.
or maybe all of your little guests are all the people that you sent your forms out to when you got tipsy and had a little literary book chat, cloakroom sex with some wiry-haired influencer. Did I? Exactly.
Oh my goodness!
Those invitations? No.
Well, what we have, let's do 4 and 5 together.
Wolfhall is excellent. On the surface, you're going to say it's a historical novel, a long historical novel set in Tudor times.
Yeah.
That's not for me. I have a grandmother or an aunt or an uncle who does read historical fiction, and I am here to tell you that might be true for lots of historical fiction, but it isn't true for this book.
Coming into it, how much Tudor knowledge did you have in your suitcase, or can you?
None whatsoever.
Really?
I don't need any at all. No.
Wow.
It helps. It will enhance. There are features that are for people like that, but you don't need it.
Interesting. That's good. Good information, because I would like to recommend this to people coming through our library who are looking for historical fiction. And I will say I've shied away from that one just because I thought this might be a little daunting for this particular person, but maybe I'm being too cautious.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Hilary Mantel diffuses that by making it an intensely personal story about one person. So all you have to really do is learn about that one person. Although, might I vent a little spleen?
Here it comes.
When people say that question, oh, I don't know, here's the story about the Jonestown cult, or here's the story about World War I. Can I go into this completely blind? I've never heard about anything at all connected with this and still love it. Can I do that? Can I vent spleen for a minute and just say, you're a goddamn adult. You could go to Wikipedia. Exactly. My spirit animal. Why are you putting the burden on any book that, can I go into this without knowing anything at all about anything? No, maybe you can't. Okay? Maybe you can't.
If I repeat your rant to my patrons, I have to pound sand in the afternoon and look for work. So I have to do what you said in a gentle way.
I mean, Clem Cadiddlehopper, when you come up to me and ask me that question, what I want to say is, that little thing you've got in your pocket contains instantaneous access to all knowledge in human existence. And yet you're asking me, well, this thing about World War II, do I have to know who was fighting in it?
Yes, we do all have the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy in our pockets, don't we?
Do a good job catching you up to speed. But maybe you could put on your big boy pants and maybe do a little of that work yourself. Just maybe.
Duck, everybody.
I'll be better behaved. I promise. Your innocent question. You asked an innocent question and slapping you around like in a cardboard box.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it once again.
It's just that always bothers me. That always bothers me. So you're willing to read 80 close-packed, tight pages of background material for Skyrim in order to do the latest issue. But when it comes to a Tudor historical novel that has been praised literally by everyone, if a novel is praised by me and Christopher Hitchens, the novel comes out that has been praised by literally everyone. What's your first response? Oh, I don't know. Can I appreciate this if I don't know anything at all about anything at all? It always bothers me just a
bit. Not much, clearly. I mean, you're taking it quite well, Steve. You know, when you're done, I want you and Frida to go out and do something like this. Well, I'll tell you, we have more. Who knows what'll happen with this? I'm looking forward to this. So we'll do 4 and 5 together. Edward P. Jones and Jonathan Franzen together again at last. We have The Known World, and I'm sure one that you're going to adore, The Correction.
I don't understand. Well, they weren't. I mean, they're just paired by propinquity in the issue. But one is a very, very good book. Not a great book, but a very, very good book about that is about things and has lots of care carved into the language. And the other is a great gaseous bloated piece of look at me. I don't understand Franzen's popularity. That's another 21st century thing that I just don't understand.
Is he popular, though? I mean,
well, he's in your library. He's in every other library.
true.
He's routinely referred to as the greatest American living author.
I can tell you that every time someone brings back a Franzen book, they always come back with this certain look on their face like, huh. They just don't seem like they had a good time.
I'm
at
surprised
all.
that not only your library, but every library, I'm surprised there isn't just an institutional response. Somebody comes back with that dazed, defeated look of a giant Franzen novel. They put it down on your desk, and your immediate response should be, so you'll want to know where the James Patterson books are. They're right over there. Here's. I'm surprised you don't have the direction card printed up.
I remember when Purity came out. Boy, did people get angry at that one. Oh, that was fun. The problem with Franzen in a physical thing for librarians is that they hurl them at your head when they bring them back in, and they're big.
If you're going to write a 1,200-page book about nothing, you'd better be Marcel Proust. Okay? And Jonathan Franzen, I knew Marcel Proust. Marcel Proust was a friend of mine, and you're no Marcel Proust.
He would disagree, and apparently so does our friends at the New York Times book review board.
How do you know that one of them wasn't Franzen? 2 authors have come forward and said that they got forms in the mail about this list and nominated their own books. 2 authors have said that. Well, if 2 have said it, then 20 did it.
Apparently, Chris Bohalian is on Jonathan Franzen's payroll because there's a little area of this thing called Why I Love It, and Chris says that he actually refers to it as a doorstop. This is why he loves it, I guess, because doorstops are in short supply wherever he lives. But he says it's marvelous, moving, often very funny novel. Kept me company when I needed company most.
Yeah. Chris, get a dog. Okay? And I might add here, since Chris is an incredibly nice guy, I might add here something that he is leaving out and maybe doesn't even think, which is that he writes much better books than Franzen does.
He should have said that in Why I Love It. You know why I love this book? Because I'm so much better than him.
I don't think he would ever do it. I don't think it would ever cross his mind. I think he would. I think, despite the ego of authors, I think he would adamantly deny that. But that's weird. Not his position. Who cares what authors think? We care what critics think.
We do. That's very true. And we're going to move on to 6 and 7. Number 6 is a book I tried once and also hurled. I wasn't a librarian at the time, so I hurled it at my librarian. And it's 2666 from 2666 from Roberto Bolaño. Ugh! I hated this. Boy, I hated this book.
Yeah. It's incredibly long. It's intentionally sordid. It's intensely soiling. It has no literary ability, either in the original or in translation. Again, it's just a gimmick. How many of these things are borne up by gimmicks? So Elena Ferrante, where is she? She's not at this book launch. She's seclusive. Ooh. And then 2666 and the other 20 novels that Bolaño has written in the 21st century, he's dead. He has 2 novels this year, and he did an interview for Oprah, but he's dead.
That's not so unique. So are you and I. That's no big deal. And then number 7, The Underground Railroad from an author I mostly like, Colson Whitehead.
The book down that way.
Oh, isn't that? Yeah. You know, that's funny. Look at that copy of the corrections. This is what happens, kids. Maybe at the New York Times, they should treat their books a little better. That's probably the biggest story.
Railroad is good. It is a good taught novel. Mm-hmm. It has a couple of failings. This author is terrible at pacing, and also, like everybody else, he can't end a book. He just stops.
Yeah.
When the grant money runs out, he just gets up from his writing table and leaves. And over his shoulder says to the terrified underling, mail that to whoever. or he gets, I guess the equivalent now would be his pen. But he doesn't finish his books. So it has a few drawbacks, but it is a very good book. But why is it on this list?
Well,
it's a very good book, or because Colson Whitehead is black? I don't know, and we'll never know.
Yeah.
He's written better books.
He has. I love that the Harlem Shuffle book he wrote was a great fun. Even though, again, like you said, there's no ending. But that's why he had to write another one.
It really amazed me that has become so common that not only do we all accept it as readers of contemporary so-called literary fiction, but writers of so-called literary fiction say that it's a style. But it's a stylistic choice.
Right. I don't believe in a 3-act structure. I believe in a 2-act structure, as in there's no act 3.
It isn't a stylistic choice.
No.
You're just a lazy sack of crap.
Wow. Well, this is great. Here on page...
I was saying that to you.
Oh. Now see here. When my book comes out, you're going to be nice to me, right? I mean, it should be made of asbestos.
Oh my. Do I want to know if young Jeffy was dormitory trained? Do I want to know?
They used to put me out every Tuesday by the curb. All right, let's wrap this miserable top 10 list up here. W.G. Sebald and Austerlitz.
Yeah, which this is an author I came to late. And in case any of you Weisenheimers listening are thinking, well, and how do we know that any of the authors you criticized aren't authors you're just going to come too late? Zip it. Or Jeff will revoke your library privileges.
I will. I can do that. It's one keystroke. It's like Alt X or something, and you're gone.
It's Alt X S for Steve.
Ah, we have. So no, well, that's the biggest one. That one.
This author, it took me a while to get him to get what he was trying to do. It's very low effort stuff. What he's trying to do, he is not the great genius that he is portrayed to be by his worshipers, but it is more clever than I gave it credit for. And this is, I think, his best book.
His worshipers say, because they wrote the description here, they called it discursive, dreamlike recollections.
Right, which is book chat speak for lazy. It wanders around depending on what the author feels like talking to now, as opposed to over there. Oh wait, what's that?
Right.
And again, we have just been fed this line that is a meaningful literary style.
It doesn't seem hard.
No.
Why aren't I doing that? For heaven's sake, I gotta eat.
It's a whole lot easier than a crystalline constructed murder mystery plot by Marjorie Allingham.
Sure, absolutely.
Nio Marsh.
Mess.
It's a whole lot easier than that. But is there anybody that would say that those things are more worthwhile? No, there isn't, because we're all engaged here. No. Unfortunately, it has flaws, even that. But you can see, even from these top 10, that there's worth here.
Yeah.
There's worth scattered all throughout this list.
I shuddered, though. I've already seen a little of this. The folks who came in and saw this and said, "Ooh, here's my next reading list for 2025." And I thought, I bet you can find better.
We know they can find better, and we know where they can find it.
Yes, absolutely, we do. We're going to go to Clan McSausage. That's what we're going to do.
There is a list that comes out every year by yours truly of the year's best and worst books. It's every bit as long a list. It's 16 or 17 categories with 10 books each, but it's not done by a whole bunch of cokeheads on the New York Times staff and also farmed out forms to self-important authors who are pushing their own works or the works of their friends, or cute little snub-nosed booktubers that you happen to meet at a party. It's not done by that at all. It's done by one person.
And his dog.
And his dog.
That's what more do you need?
That list will be coming out in the first 15 days of December. It will do you just fine for 2025. There won't be a dud on the list. There'll be no question that any kind of progressive stack or virtue signaling was used. No question at all. It will be a reader who's reading all of these books simply calling balls and strikes.
Everything you just said has completely discounted your list across the country, unfortunately. Because I'm sorry, there's just nothing we can do with this. There's really no place for this here.
My foremost vindication for my list, and it being just balls and strikes without caring what it looks like, just caring about the quality of the books, is that one year, probably 20 years ago, I think it was the worst fiction list of that year, every one of the 10 books was written by a woman. It was totally random chance. They were
just happened to be bad.
The other lists that year were full of female authors. but I think it was worst fiction was all women. And I got plenty of comments from
I was gonna
people
say,
saying,
I'm assuming.
oh my God, you're worse than Idi Amin. And one person, the 10th leper from the parable of the New Testament, came back to me years later. I think it was 2 years later, wrote me an email and said, I was so furious with you and I made it a point to read those books. They were all horrible. They were all absolutely horrible. She said, I want you to know I'm sorry for my comment, although I think you should still have put a bad book by a man in here, just one.
It's a token book, a
to
token male book.
avoid the reaction that you got.
I love it. That's a very Wisconsin reaction she had. It's just like, I got so mad I had to do something. That's so wonderful. I read the books.
Right. The Wisconsin reaction is eat, but
Right.
she chose read instead.
Of course.
The readers of the New York Times made a list of their own. They wrote in massive numbers to the New York Times. And the Times posted their own list. With this cover,
What's
is the look that every horse has ever given me.
What's Mr. Ed doing on the cover?
No, it was a really good book. It's a good book about the horse.
Okay.
This isn't just that, but they did a list of their own. I want to see just quickly,
Please,
if the top 10 overlap.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Let's make this happen. Yep. Go ahead.
Okay. Let's go to the top 10 here.
Mm-hmm. Now, did the New York Times then cluster up, like take a cumulative? Are they publishing a bunch of separate lists, or is this like these are the most?
This is one. This is just their reader response. Number 1 is Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver.
Oh, people love that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and that's genuine love.
Yeah,
that's not positioned here for any reason.
No.
Then we have Anthony Doerr's book, All the Light We Cannot See.
Oh, but people love that. Oh my god.
Demon Copperhead and All the Light We Cannot See. We can see right away the thematic difference that's emerging here. They are both extremely well constructed, page-turningly enjoyable books with endings.
Oh, what a revolution.
You will never forget the ending to All the Light We Cannot See. You will never forget the ending when you get there. It will wreck you.
I can't afford that book anymore. I've had to replace it so many damn times.
I wonder if all of these will be really popular at the library. The third one, I know it will be. A Gentleman in Moscow.
Oh, God.
Hugely
I can't even. Yeah,
perfectly
absolutely.
constructed book. So I think we're seeing what readers actually like here. They don't like these big wandering
readers. We outrank them.
Number 4 is The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. Really substantive book. I get a lot more out of it every time I read it, although it's very boring. It's very boring.
Yeah, my child read it because she thought it would be cool, and about at midpoint she's like, "I'm enjoying it, but it's not cool."
Yeah, no, it's weird. It's like people who read Magic Mountain by Thomas Mann. They often will say, "Oh yeah, I could see that it was really good, but
I'm not having a good time."
And the Goldfinch manages that level of highbrow tedium, even with an explosion. Donna Tartt is the only author I have ever. There's an explosion scene in Goldfinch, and she's the only author I've ever read anywhere who made an explosion scene boring.
Very special skill set.
And number 5 is Pachinko.
People love it. Oh yeah, people love it.
People really like that book.
Yep, they do.
I had my issues with it, but it is such a favorite, and it's a favorite because it doesn't disappoint.
Yeah,
it gains strength as it goes along. Then number 6 is Tara Westover's book, Educated.
Oh, yeah, it's very popular here too. I think it's popular. It is. I think Oprah or one of those book clubs slapped their little seal of approval on it, so that spiked the ball in the end zone.
I should pay more attention to celebrity endorsements. I usually don't, and I should, because they move things.
Because you're doling them out, Steve Donahue.
I'm not the caliber of celebrity that I wish I were.
I understand. We're working on it.
If I were adopted as a national celebrity, I could finally afford a real producer.
Right there. You want to talk real celebrity? Let's move on.
Let's see here. Number 7 is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin.
It had its moment here.
Understand the word of mouth on this book. I do not understand.
Yeah. It had a moment.
It's a soap bubble.
I loved when that was returned by our main, demographic here in Cedarburg, and they said, well, I like the sort of love story and human story, but I didn't understand any of the video game crap. So
No,
it's kind of interesting.
The video game crap is not contextualized
Mm.
or explained.
Okay.
So you have to be one of the cool kids to like the book.
Oh, well, I guess I'll get that right off my list.
Their number 8 is My Brilliant Friend.
Oh, boy.
And number 9 is Never Let Me Go by Ishiguro.
Which, oddly enough, how weird. That's number 9 on the actual list too.
Yeah, I don't know. On the Times list, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but they actually rank in light blue where the book fell on their own list, and I think that's the only time that the number was identical.
Crossover. Okay.
And then their number 10 is Station 11.
Oh,
popular at the library. Yes.
It did okay. Yeah, it wasn't. It was. I think it was deemed too weird. So, I don't know why.
Too weird, yes, but it has a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Aha. There. Oh, there we go.
Tomorrow. All the books on the reader response are different in kind. It's not just they're different titles. It's that they're going to satisfy you as a reading experience rather than as a posing experience.
So we've had a major breakthrough on this show, which, we have before in the past. I know major breakthroughs when we uncovered this, but what the breakthrough is.
We haven't decided, you or I, which of us is going to be the one to tell her what that thing actually is. We both know what it is.
Her husband recommended she wear it.
Yes,
but
and his mistress recommends that he wear it, but not on his nose.
Especially Wisconsin, it gets very chilly here in February. But the breakthrough I think we've had with this list, and I'm pretty excited about this, is that actual real readers, which you all are, and I am, do crave narrative responsibility out of their authors. An understanding of what makes drama, an understanding of, there it is.
It is absolutely no coincidence that not only are these two lists very different, but that they're very different in the exact same way. I really wish the literary world would take a memo on that fact.
Sure.
It is not a viable style choice for you to not finish your book. It is not a viable style choice for you to think that if you transcribed last year's Twitter feed, you've written fiction. That is not a viable narrative choice.
No.
Readers don't prefer that to stories that emotionally involve them and come to a satisfying conclusion.
Absolutely. Charles Dickens, the only time he ever decided not to do an ending, The Mystery of Edwin Drood, is because he died.
Which is the only acceptable excuse. And for a large number of the contemporary authors out there on the lit scene, one I would urge.
The recommendation from the book critic is that you can fast track your demise. It helps sales numbers too. It does wonders for marketing.
For all of your children. Oh, wait, you don't have children. For most of the lit crit authors that are out there, I would strongly suggest the ones that have written auto fiction for the last 10 books and transcribed their Twitter feed. I have a little suggestion for you when you're walking about in your dazed vaping day. The next time you come across a big sign with the word caution with an exclamation point, ignore it.
Well, they can't read anyway, so it's fine. It's not a big deal. Oh, we're going to get in so much trouble. What can I do to bail us out? I know. I can recommend that everyone watching spend money. Yes,
this is what we always do. First, we disgrace ourselves, and then we say, would you like to fund this?
Well, I'll tell you, you could get more of this by taking that overpriced cup of coffee and saying, no, yet, not today. Today, I'm going to drop that change in.
We always say that, too, that you can get more of this. And how many patron-exclusive videos have we made?
Well, I mean, more of this.
But we don't want to tie the show to that, because then people are going to write in saying, well, does that mean if I contribute, I can have less of this too?
We'll talk. We'll talk. I mean, that's amazing. Kick the tires, take it for a test drive. You let me know how that all works out for you. Steve, thank you so much. This was fun. It was, it helped. I think it actually did help.
I wasn't expecting that, but the two lists really do show that you can talk all you want. The only member of the book chat world that doesn't fully engage in this kind of stupid posturing virtue signaling is me.
That's true.
And my own list reflects books that are actually good, not books that I want to be seen liking.
Like this. Or this. Here's the list. You can get it. Actually, it's on our newspaper rack upstairs. You can grab it and,
might want to go to this list.
And maybe go to the one with the horsey. That's probably the one you want to grab, because
the readers list are by and large going to please you more.
Yeah, without a doubt, 100%. Fantastic. Thank you, Steve. We'll be back next week with reviews or overviews of nonfiction and fiction. And, of course, the show and the little scroll at the bottom, all of the coin we collect goes to this juggernaut of a group here in Cedarburg. We call them the Friends of the Cedarburg Public Library. We adore them. We love them. And without them, Steve wouldn't put a finger up.
Little known fact, the Friends came out with their own list of 100 books.
Oh.
Nobody paid attention.
No. they actually put my favorite pamphlet at number 1, famous Jewish sports legends. All right. Yes, I stole that gag from Airplane. Anyway, have a wonderful week, everybody. Have a wonderful reading week. We'll see you back here soon. Take care.